Yes.
Say you know if you just wait for I know I'm gonna do double inspection because now double inspection now.
Everybody mute your mic now. Mute your mic.
Recording in progress.
I'm the facilitator and I'm already on ground. I want to.
Because some of the things, some of the components will don't affect.
Doctor, please, what's the name of the lecturer? Let me make him a co-host. I've also made you a co-host, please. And I've sent you the YouTube live link, the YouTube link, so that you quickly post for others to join, please. Yeah.
Okay, the name of lecturer is Sam Majakodumi.
Who?
Dr. Sam Majakodumi.
Majeku.
Dr. Samuel Majekodumi, yes, ma'am.
Okay, Samuel Majeku.
Let me know you are the demand. That's why most
Okay, I've made the two of you co-hosts, so I'll be leaving now. Thank you, sir. Have a blessed day, sir. Yeah, bye.
You get one day now. It's 8 o'clock. They never give us okay. Now God will go for this.
Please, can you unmute your mic?
Bosmo, you can now.
Hello, Dr. Samuel. Hello, Dr. Majakodumi. You can unmute yourself, sir.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Okay, so I want to find out if you can see the screen that I'm sharing.
We can see the screen, sir.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, fine. So please, I want us to
see, sir.
enjoy smooth interaction. So you ensure that you mute yourself while the class is going on so that there won't be background noises. Once again, I'm happy to meet you. My name is Dr. Samuel Majakodumi. I'm facilitating Boss 112. In your study part, okay. So I will ensure that at the end of our interaction, this slide will be made available to you through your HOC. Okay. So, and I believe some of you, practically all of you, you already have access to the course material for this study, and you must have gone through it. And so for those of you who have gone through it already, you will see that this slide has been structured to reflect what we have on our study pack. So we are starting with the nature of business activities. We are starting with the nature of business activities. So I just need one or two persons who have read the material to just give me an insight into what they understand when we say nature of business activities. Nature of business activities. One or two persons, just unmute yourself to interact with us as to what you understand by nature of this.
Good morning, sir.
Okay.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. The name?
Business, Audio Judith.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Business activities are the activities individual involved in order to earn a living.
Very fine. I like your contribution. Yes. People engage, the activities people engage in order to earn a living, which to a very good extent align with what we have too in our park. Okay. So I've been listening to you. Let's now move a bit further. So we'll be interacting from time to time because all of you have the same material. So you are read ahead of time. Some of you are even practitioners of what we are saying here. So we don't see ourselves as an absolute custodian of knowledge on this. There are things you yourself you have been putting into practice in your respective area of endeavor. So here we said there are some words that are in bold letters, even in the material you have with you. Okay. So we take note of those words as you are going through the material. Then we see ourselves discussing what the definition of business activities. Okay. Also identifying the various economic activities involved in business and determine the various activities and characteristics of business. So also at 1.5, as we'll be looking at the objectives of business, various classification of business, illustrates the application of perceptions in business administration, consequences of business failure. So we now proceed looking at it from the first one highlighted, types of economic activities. By nature, businesses revolves around what we call economic activities. So any human activity engaged by anybody to earn a living, just like the first person who interacted with us has said, is known as what? Economic activity. Economic activity. And when it becomes what is done regularly, when that economic activities becomes what is done regularly, take note of those things highlighted in color. When it is now regularly, then we call it what? Occupation or vocation. We call it occupation or vocation. And when you have been in it for certain times too, it becomes those things that you have been doing in that particular occupation constitute what we now call basic skills. Basic skills. For example, you say tailoring, laundering, carpentry. There are people who have attained skills in them. Why? Because they have been practicing it over time. So such individuals have now attained certain skills that make them to become known as people who are skillful in the practice of tailoring, skillful in the practice of carpentry, and so on and so forth. However, occupation can be classified. Occupations can be what? Classified. And so in classification, we can have three categories. So it's classified into what? Three. Occupation is classified into three. And as it's classified into three, first, we look at profession. Profession. A profession comprises of all those economic activities that require observing certain rules and regulations. That is, a code of conduct. Examples include medical doctors, teachers, lecturers, lawyers, engineers, accountants. And if you look at this category of individuals, you discover that they have bodies that regulate what they do. They have bodies that you can report them to if you find out that they have executed the activities in a manner that is not inconsistent with what the profession proclaims. And so those people we call professionals, they tend to be very careful in the way they handle and the way they go about content of their practices. Because, for instance, the accountant who is a practitioner or a lawyer or engineer, their licenses that are given to them by the professional body can be withdrawn. Okay? So they tend to pay attention to what they do tediously. Then the other classification is employment. The other classification you can see, like I've said from onset, that will be seeing words highlighted. So employment here is also highlighted so that you can have understanding of what employment is all about. So it's an economic activity rendered by a person to another or to an enterprise under a contract of service for some payment. There's nobody is in any employment that is not looking forward towards being paid. There's nobody in an employment that is not looking forward towards being paid. Then the third category of classification is business or service. Business or service. This constitutes set of different engagement of line of professionalism and practices. And so you'll be having people who are into insurance, banking, consultancy services, and the likes. So those are the three classifications we have. Then let's now look further under our 1.2. Let's look further as to definition of business. Definition of business. Business try to what? Identify needs of what? Consumer or the needs of other firms. So in essence, satisfaction of needs, meeting needs is very germane to businesses. So any business you see that is existing is actually existing in order to take care of certain needs. And what it takes to resolve any issue revolving around needs is to be able to put resources in place. Put resources in place in order to address the identified needs. Also, business refers to human economic activities which involve regular production or exchange of goods and services. That is, those goods and services have to be distributed. They have to be converted from just being lying idle somewhere and be made available to those people who are going to make use of them to satisfy their needs. So in essence, what satisfied needs can be categorized into two. What satisfied needs can be categorized into two: goods or services. Goods or services. So again, we say business is multifaceted field of trade, commerce, and industry. So in this regard, you have transport as business. You have people who are into trading and they're in business. People who are into warehousing, they are also into business, just like people who are into banking are also regarded to have been in business. So we say it is multifaceted, something that has different perspective, different angle, different modalities. We call it what? Multifaceted. So business cut across every area of human endeavor. So, like I've said, this slide will be made available through your HOC so that everything we are interacting on now, you will, after this class, also be able to also further take a look at them. And like I've said, everything here, they are in line with what you have in your pack. Put it in place, this slide in place, serially, according to the way the study part is made available to you in the entire sequence of the module. So we say business has characteristics. Business has characteristics. And those features that constitute the characteristics include economic, exchange of sales, creating for space and time utility, which is also known, all these form, place, and time utility, they are all together known as what? Satisfaction. So economic activities, you know, we have defined that one in the first slide. So in business, a person is engaged in the manufacturing or buying or selling of goods and services. So when they are doing that, what they are basically doing is what? They are engaging in what we call economic activities. So when you have what it takes to satisfy a need, you have not transacted business until what? You have been able to pass it across to those who are actually in need. And that's why we say exchange or sales. The item that is lying with you as a business person becomes something that satisfies need when you have been able to what? Release it through a means of sales, and somebody purchases it in order to use it for the purpose of satisfying needs. So we now look at the third one, which is about satisfaction. If you change the form of a particular item to another form, then it has capacity to satisfy needs. Take, for instance, soft drink. Soft drink will come in its normal form, that is, it is containerized, whether in bottle or plastic. But that form can also be changed. For instance, when somebody is into sports now and he needs to take something to cool the body after running for a while, maybe looking forward to what we drink, but it's not looking at a drink that is hot. So the form of that drink, from just being just a normal one, has to be changed. The person will be saying, I need a chill one. So the form in which it needs it at that material time, it's not just in that ordinary form of a not chill, but a chill one. Place, making it available at the right place. At the right place for those who need to use it. Then you may be thinking of whether you need transportation or what has to be put in place in terms of what we call logistics. Then the last one is what? Time. You make it available as timely as possible. As timely as possible for the user. So we look further deep into what? The characteristics, and we look at regularity of transaction or in dealings. This implies that when we say business, has characteristics that for it to be a business must be something that, oh, this person has been known for. Okay. So a single transaction that somebody does at time cannot be said to be what? Seen as what? Business. But when it has become something that is regular and people can say, okay, if you are looking for this, check this particular person, check this particular office, check this particular vendor, then we now say, okay, that person is what? Is into this business. So it has characteristics. Then the next one is profit motive. It has been argued that businesses have profit motive. In fact, in some books where you read, they will say they will categorize the objective of business into two major groups. They will say the first one is profit motive, which is what? Primary motive. They will say the first one is primary motive, which is basically profit making and profit maximization. They will say the second one is what? Secondary objective, which is basically having to do with all other aspects, whether you are talking about innovation, you are talking about social responsibility, training, development of human resource, and all what have you. All those one other one is secondary objective. So which means profit motive is a major characteristics of business. Though, let me clarify, there are some businesses we call not for business, not for profit businesses. For instance, those that are in charity arm, okay? Those that are defending the civil right of people, those people are fighting for people to be liberated from child labor, fighting for the right of women against domestic violence and all those. They basically rely on philanthropies to sponsor their activities. So those ones, yes, you can categorize them as business, but their motive is not just basically for profit. But majority of businesses we have around us, whether it's manufacturing or any other arm of business, service, or extractive, or whatever. Majority of them are basically driven by what? Profit-making motive. So those are characteristics. Availability of fund. Businesses need fund. Whether they want to use their own personal fund or they want to go and borrow. If they are using personal fund, they don't need to pay interest on it. But if they go and borrow, we call it finance by debt. So in that case, they need to pay what? Interest on whatever thing they have borrowed. So, and the fund being used directly by the owner can be said to be equity, especially if it's a large concerned organization. Okay, there are so many other means whereby individuals can make money available. And having said that, I want us to move further by looking at social purpose of business. Businesses have characteristics of what? Social what? Achieving social purposes, bringing the buyer and the seller together to negotiate and arrive at mutual understanding and make exchange to keep the society going. Without business, society cannot survive. Okay, so it serves social purposes. Customer satisfaction. Any business that exists seeks to what? Whether it's for business, it has intention of making profit or not. Every business has intention of what? Satisfying customer, whether it is a charity business or any other one. So it has what? The mandate, the characteristics of what? Attempting to what? Satisfy needs. Every business has the mandate to satisfy needs. So we now arrive at the objective of business. By the way, let me find out, are we still there? So let me be sure that we are still interacting together.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
we
Yes,
can-
sir.
Yes, sir.
Are we flowing with the way I'm going, or you want me to adjust?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No,
Yes,
we're
sir.
flowing.
Yes, sir.
We're flowing.
Okay,
Okay.
because I
So
promise you, I will make this slide available. I have drawn this slide exactly. You have those really in your pack. And I promise you, I will definitely make this available for HOC. Okay. So we have arrived at looking at objectives of business now. So you can kindly mute yourself now. So we move further again. Every business has objective they want to pursue. In fact, we said in every organization you see, organizations exist to work to realize certain objectives. So when you have people working in an organization, all of them will be working towards helping that organization achieve the objective of the organization. And like you have heard me said earlier on, there are some books you will read. They will broadly bring objectives into two categories. They will say primary objectives and secondary objectives. You see primary objective as objective that is tailored towards what? Profit making, profit maximizing. And every other objective, whether objective to innovate, objective to embark on corporate social responsibility, objective to train workers, and any other objective, they push all those one other secondary objective. But I like the way it has been made available in your pack. They have broken it not just into those two, they broke them into more. So we look at it as what? From different perspectives now. The first one is economic objectives. The next one is social objectives, human objective, national objective, and global objective. So let's now look at them more closely, one by one. Okay, economic objectives refer to the objectives of earning adequate profits. Adequate profit. Every organization that exists, they have interest to realize some objectives. Even the NGO we are talking about, non-government organization, charity organization, not-for-profit organization. Yes, but then they still have objective to make certain money to keep going, even if it is just to use that money to pay for those people working with them and to make certain, money is very, very germane. Okay? It's very, very germane. They may not be like other ones who are looking at, we must make profit and now maximize it. Okay? But there must be budget too. They have. Every organization will have budget, whether it's for profit or not. They have budget. And this budget we are talking about, in one way or the other, there are economic elements there. Okay? They want to have some earnings that can help them to achieve the basic. Okay. So in that regard, it's looking at exploring new markets. It wants to break into more new markets to have more customers. That's economy. Growth, expansion. He has one branch. He wants to increase to 2, 3, 4, 5 branches. That's economy. Creating novelties, improvements in goods and value. He wants his product to be seen as the best compared to that of competitors. That is economy. Okay. Making good use of available resources, best use of them. You know, in economics, they say the resources are limited. So those limited resources you have, the businesses are out to make the best use of that word, limited resources. Then we look at the next one, which is what? Social objectives. Social objectives, production and supply of quality goods and services to the society to make sure that people enjoy value for the money they are parting with in order to procure the goods and services that they are going after. Making goods available at reasonable prices. Okay? That's what we call consumerism. Okay? That is, make sure you give to consumers what is commensurate with what they are parting with. Let them enjoy value for their money. Okay? Avoidance of unfair practices like hoarding, black marketing, overcharging, not engaging or promoting illegal businesses and etc. should be what? Should be checked. So businesses have what? Social obligations to do things in the framework. Please, to enjoy the class, those who have unmute themselves, you can just mute. Except you have one information that is vital for me to.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You can no longer hear me?
I can hear you, sir, clearly.
We can hear you, sir.
Okay. So let's move on because our time is also moving. We have 1 hour. So I may begin to move a bit faster now so that to run through the slides. So social needs, I've made a list of them which you can interact with after this class accordingly. Okay. Then we have human objectives. In every organization,
We can't hear you, sir. We can't hear you, sir.
Oh, we cannot hear you.
Sir, we can't hear you.
Just hold on. I think it's his network. Just hold on, guys.
Hello.
We can't hear you, sir. I think it's network.
or promoting illegal businesses and etc. should be what? Should be checked. So businesses have what? Social obligations to do things in the framework.
Yes, sir. The network is disturbing.
We can't see the screen anymore.
He's not even talking. We can't hear him. I'm just using my YouTube.
Please, if you keep
I
talking, you
think
will
it's
not hear
talking.
you. He's using another system to talk to teach us now. The laptop has gone off. So if you keep quiet, you will hear him, please.
You can interact with after this.
Sir, please, if you can hear us, we are not. I am not hearing you.
He's back. I think he's back.
Sorry, we face some issues as a result of internet disruption.
Oh,
So I think you can all see the slide again now. So we are back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, we can see it.
So you will permit me, I will now have to move with a bit of speed now before the period we have for interaction is exhausted. So we have national objectives.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
National objective. Every
Please, we stopped at human objectives.
You can hear faster. Please, guys, just
So for human objective, I've already done justice to that. You know, when we're on human objective, maybe you can't hear me, maybe the internet has done its. But then what I basically say under that is that every organization should have objective of having the best of human resource for their organization. So to that extent, they have to make conducive environment available. They have to make sure that they give them adequate training. They remunerate them, that is, they reward them as adequately as possible so that they can get the best from their workforce. So those are the things we mentioned under the human objective. So we now move to national objective. Are we together now? Are we hearing me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you, sir. I've muted every other person. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
can hear you,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. So I want to move with some speed now so that we can run through what we have before the time is exhausted. So the national objective, I was saying that every nation deserves and wishes that more employment should be created and business is needed for that to be achieved. They want crime-free environment. And to that effect, businesses are needed to help them achieve that. So in every part of the world, there is need for businesses to play a very vital role in realizing national objectives. Without businesses, nations will not be able to realize crime-free society. There are no jobs. Of course, crime will be prevailing every part of a nation because jobless people will need to live. And to live, they have to live through other means that are not consistent with the law of the nation. So businesses are very, very vital for national objectives to be realized. So we look at the next objective, which is global objectives. These are the objectives that in a global setting that every country of the world belongs to. They want fairness. For instance, okay, they want to engage in trade, and where this particular country has these resources, the other one may not have. And so when they trade together globally, transact in business, what you don't have in your part of the world, you can easily enjoy it. What others don't have to, you can take it there. And there'll be symbiotic relationship, and the whole world becomes better for it. So that's that concerning various business activities that we intend to look at. Then we talk about classifications of business. Businesses have what? Classification. You can classify businesses, one, through stages of production, two, through output or functions. Through output or functions. So now let's look at that one closely. Classification according to stages of what? Production. For instance, we have primary, secondary, tertiary, and what? Business sectors respectively. Okay, to things like farming, fishing, animal husbandry, oil exploration, quarry. That is those things that requires exploration of resources. Okay, from their natural form. Exploration of what? Resources from their what? Natural form. Okay, and once those own, then you arrive at what we call secondary sector. Are extracted from the natural form, receive some touch to transform it, to give those a facelift. So at the primary sector level, majority of what you have, they constitute raw material received for further processing at the secondary sector. Okay. You sector, they process it to bring out what? Fabrics. You have your cement from what? Primary sector. At your secondary sector, they mold your cement to become some concrete, some blocks, and some slab that they can use for further construction work. Okay, so at the secondary sector, you transform it, becomes usable. That becomes usable for further activities and production. Okay, you have harvested your cassava in raw form from farming. At the secondary form, it is transformed to flour. Okay, it is transformed to flour, and so on and so forth. Those are the characteristics you find in what? The secondary end. Then you talk about the tertiary sector business activities. You include those companies providing services to consumers and other businesses such as what? Retailing shop. Okay, you have been able to use your secondary sector to produce flour from cassava. Then you now need those people who will help to retail them. So from there, those people who want to get them in forms that they can go and use for their final, they use them. Those people in the services too, in banking and all what have you, tourism and the rest, they're also part of this tertiary sector of business. Then you have what? The quaternary sector business. This refers to those industries that emphasize, okay, that well, there are support services that are needed. They make them available for you. So majority of them, they are basically more in the area of research and what? Technology. All this ICT and all what have you, you find more of them in this category. So this is a chart. This table is also picked directly from your module pack. So everything you have here, I've adapted them directly from your module pack so that you will not be reading something here that is different from what you have in your pack. Adapted them directly into this slide, which I definitely will make available to you. Then we have classification according to what? Output. Classification according to output. When we talk about classification according to output, you have from two main types, industry and what? Commerce. Industry and commerce. So for industry, we say in business, studies relating to industry means that those activities concerned with what? The production and processing of goods, or say by application of human or mechanical influences. So what we have is that within a sector, this is the breakdown. That's what we call firm. The coming together of different firms is what constitutes industry, and the coming together of related industries constitute what we call sector. Okay, constitute what we have for sector. For instance, you have financial sector. In financial sector, you will talk about insurance industry, you will talk about banking industry. And in banking industry, you now talk about various firms. Okay, you have First Bank, you have GTB, you have Access, and those are respective firms. So when all of them come together, they form what we call banking industry. And when you bring banking industry, and all other basic industry related these things together, then you have what we call financial sector. I hope the clarification is clear to us. Okay? So having spoken about this, you can have primary or secondary industry. You can have primary or what? Secondary industry. Primary industry are those that process and associate with what? Extraction, just like we have just said earlier on. They involve in what? Raw material. They deal in what? Raw material. Extractive and what? Genetic industry. Those ones are in what? Primary sector. So that is, they go after the raw material. So they are not finished product in themselves, but from them, you can process further to derive other products. So the genetic industry are those business activities related to what? Rearing and breeding of what? Animals. That's why they call it genetics. Okay, preserving the offerings, using technology to come up with better offerings. Today, you discover that even in the pets now, those people who raise dogs discover that they have been able, through genetic processes, they have better breeds now. You have some that will practically even look like lion. You have some that will practically look like leopard because they have taken them through genetic models that make them not to look like the normal dog that we have known through ages. So that's that. And you have the secondary. And so for the secondary, you have manufacturing and what? Construction. There are those who will manufacture, for instance, from raw material, they produce cement for you. Those are manufacturing industries. They have turned all the extracted one to what? Cement. But those cements now are needed in what? In the construction industries. We use them to form and cast, and either they want to do road, they want to construct gutter, drainage, building, and whatever. Okay. You have all those. So, having shed light on that, nature and perception of what? Business. Nature and perception of business is what we want to examine now. Okay? And so business has what? Some perception. So perception can be defined in various ways. It is the process of what? Our selecting, organizing, and interpreting what? Sensory input, thereby giving meaning and order to the world around us, thus forming a mental representation of our environment. It is a cognitive process by which humans select, organize, and interpret sensation to produce a meaningful representation of the world. So in essence, when you have two people together in the same business, even in the same industry, they might experience, well, I'm making good sales. The other one will say, I'm struggling to make better sales. Okay. And that's why even in business, there's what we call categorization. Even in the same industry, if you go into banking industry, for instance, different organizations within the industry they belong. And that's why within the same industry, you can categorize. So in the same industry, you can have industry leader, you can have the challenger, you can have the follower, then you can have the lead, the niche. So if you take telecommunication now, and you look at them critically, there's a particular one you may say this is the what? In instance, the one that you are perceiving by your perception, you are categorizing as industry leader might be the one that has the largest market share. And automatically, the one that has the largest market share can translate to the one that is making more fortune among the rest. Okay. So perception is very, very critical to ability to be able to do the placement per time. So to help this perception to be driven home as properly as possible, there are needs to what? To address business failure. To address business failure. And business failure is nothing more than, we started looking at objective. Achieving is predetermined objectives and goals. It's a failure. Every business has objective. Whether you are calling it economic objective, whether you are calling it human objective, whether you are calling it national objective, whether you are calling it global objective, whatever you rate it, or you are even doing it in the earlier one that I cited, those who look at it as primary and secondary objectives, any business that cannot realize its objective is a failed business. It's what? It's a failed business. So a business that is a failed business, you can define it from very different, diverse angle. A business that cannot pay its workers, I say it's a failed business. A business that cannot reward the owners and the shareholders regularly, I say it's a failed business. A business that is unable to meet its major corporate responsibilities, even to the community, social responsibility, say it's a failed business. A business that over the years has not been able to move up from the level it is. I've just told you now that in every industry you have categorization where you have industry leader, you have the challenger, follower. If one has been in a niche and has not been able to even leave that realm for many years, you can say, well, it's not categorized as a success, because it's supposed to have an agenda to move from being what need to. There is room for the challenger to become the leader. There is room for the follower to move up, beat the challenger and even become the leader. So if one is just staying put, okay, and he cannot move to become the leader, you can say also it's a failure. So there are so various diverse models through which you can determine whether a business is a success or a failure. There are various causes of business failure: managerial inefficiency, inadequate financial support, economic environment, and so forth. There are those things we call external and internal factors. In most cases in businesses, managers don't bother themselves with internal factors because there are things managers have control over. You can determine to train or not to train. You can determine to the structure you want to use. You can determine whether you want to or not promote people. So majority of those things, whether you want to delegate or not, to subordinate, or those things are basically internal. But where the headache of businesses lie is what? It's in the external, because managers don't have control over them. They don't have control over the economic factors, interest rate, exchange rate. They don't have control over it, for instance. They You don't have control over the legal factors, who you can employ, at what age you can employ it, and all those things. You cannot influence it. Okay, so those things that are external, like political factors, economic factors, legal factors, socio-cultural factors, and all what they are what external, and managers don't have control over them. So they can easily cause failure of what? Business. Okay, which you have seen here that I've stated. And like I told you, I need to be a bit faster now so that I can exhaust the slide and elicit questions from you. So basically, things that cause failure of business can be more of what? External than internal. Though internal too can cause it. But what we have known over the years is that those internal factors can also be controlled more easily than the external factors. External factors basically cannot even be controlled, okay, except if they are in the intermediary aspect, where, according to Michael Porter, though it's not in your slide here because it's not put as part of those things we should pass across to you, but just as a way of addendum, Michael Porter came up with 5 model that he says, well, if it is external environment and it's in the intermediate environment, which is also called micro environment, that you can use Michael Porter 5 model, 5 forces model. You can deal with the powerful supplier through backward integration. You can deal with powerful distributor through forward integration. You can deal with new entrants with price war and all sorts of defenses. So that's just by the way, anyway, they are not part of things put in your butt, you know, as by a way to make you enjoy value for your time and your interest in this class. So we have internal courses, which I've mentioned earlier on. So in summary, okay, in this session, we have learned cover certain aspects, and you know, in the past, for you, there are areas where you are expected to gloss over that. I want to implore you to make sure that you are expected to also make use of. There are references in the walkthrough. So I want to thank and appreciate you for listening. Now the floor is open for you to interact with me. If there's any area you want me to shed more light, the rest assured, just like I've said earlier on, that you are going to have this slide. So you can mute now, but don't let many people unmute at the same time so that it will not become noisy. So we can interact now. We have barely 4 minutes to the end of the 1 hour allotted to us. I'm available for your interaction, please. Hello. Okay, I've seen some people raise hand.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Sir. You can hold on.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
I want to talk about the planning sector.
Good morning, sir.
Gabriel, I can hear you.
Good morning, sir. My name is Gabriel, sir. Olanlukun.
Oh yes, you are welcome, Gabriel.
I want you to emphasize on these factors that can affect business.
Okay,
You said that the internal factors are no more affecting business. What of in a manufacturing company where
okay, I understand you want me to shed more light on factors that leads to failure of business, and particularly we are concerned about the internal factors. When we say internal factors, it's irrespective of whether it is manufacturing or construction company or service organization. What we are basically saying is things within the organization. That internal simply means things within the organization itself. And when we say things within the organization, it cuts across the policy of the organization, it cuts across the rules and regulations of the organization. It cuts across the strategy of the organization and so on and so forth, their planning model and everything. And one thing I just mentioned about that is, yeah, business failure. Those internal things can cause business failure. But then, what we are basically saying is, those are things that managers have control over. Those internal factors, yes, they can cause business failure, but managers have control over them. So managers they stand better chances to deal with internal factors than dealing with external factors because they don't have control over the external factors. They don't have control over the unemployment rate or deflation. They don't have control over exchange rate. They don't have control over inflation and so on and so forth. They don't have control over the laws regulating the trade and the rest. They are external to them and they don't have control over them. So they affect business in a more powerful way, okay, than what? The internal factors. That's what I just emphasized.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, the name?
Yes, sir. Please, my
Your
name
name?
is Mr. Salahuddin Ismail.
Oh, you are
So
welcome.
I want to ask about causes of business failure. So you mentioned government and it is policy. I didn't get the rest, sir.
Okay, like I've said, we said quite a number of things can cause what? Business failure. If you look at the slide I displayed, we mentioned managerial inefficiency, isn't it? We mentioned government policy and a number of string of them. Then we now emphasize further that majorly other factors that cause business failure come from environment of business. And when we say environment of business, business environments are usually subdivided into two broad categories, internal and external environment. And in the external environment, that's where you find things like economic factors, okay? And when we say economic factors, we are referring things to things like inflation, exchange rates, interest rates, and all those indicators. We talk about political factors, insecurity, and all what have you. There are people now will not locate certain businesses in certain area in the country. Why? Because of what? Political reasons, political motivated insecurity and the like. There are people who will not whose their businesses are failing in certain part of the country because of socio-cultural factors, things that have to do with what? Religion. Okay? That certain businesses will not thrive in certain area because of what? Religion factors, cultural factors, and the rest. There are things that certain businesses will not fly because of what? Legal factors, laws. Even if somebody that is age 17 can do certain things very well for you and is willing to work for you, the law does not allow you to employ people below the age 18 to work for you. Okay? And if you have more of those people in the environment that can work for you, then will your business succeed? No. The structuring of the environment, of the population itself, if you have more old people than young people, it's also an implication that can what? Cause business failure. So there are myriad of them, but I made sure I captured them all in the slide that I'm going to forward to you. You see, the 1 hour period we have cannot accommodate for me to go line by line on about 66 pages of slide that I have for you. Even if we break it to 1 minute per slide, there's no way I can. That's why at the time I told you that I have to now accelerate my speed of information so that we can have this time now to interact. So we'll see more of them when you have the slide.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other person?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
You're welcome. One person should speak at a time so that we can have quality interaction. Yes, I can hear you.
My name is Balogun Tosonlo Adam Larry, sir. So, yeah, so I was trying to, because my network break down when you are talking about nation objective. So I want to get that, sir.
Okay, yes, national objective. We are saying that this business help to realize national objective. For instance, I was saying there that businesses will minimize unemployment rate. And by minimizing unemployment rate, that means business is helping the nation, because if there's high unemployment, crime will also increase, isn't it? Because when there's hunger, many people want to take into crime, isn't it? When there's unemployment, insecurity will arise, isn't it? Kidnapping and all what have you will begin to be on what? Increase. When the businesses are in place and the economy is moving, then you discover that the GDP will be moving, isn't it? The economy will become more steady, economic growth will be realized, and so many other national fortune that will be what? Attained. Innovation, research will be enhanced to keep moving the organization forward. It will help even in the balance of trade of the organization. The economy will not just be the one that is only receiving. When businesses are in the country and they are doing very well, then the economy will be in the position to also have things that they can put together to also export and earn what? Foreign exchange for the economy. And it can help to pushing the effect of, most of the time you see that they are saying the exchange rate is going high, It's an implication about how businesses are flying in the country. If businesses are doing very well and we are manufacturing and we have more things to export than we import, believe you me, the exchange rate will be forced to come down, because we have what we are doing to earn more from them. So we have more to conserve with us in terms of hard currency. So in a many diverse way, the nation is helped when businesses are moving very well as expected in the country. They will realize several objectives, just like you have seen highlighted. We see more of them as listed in this slide that passed across to you, just as the way it is your module pack. Are you okay, Balogun?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
There's any other question?
Yes,
Other
sir.
question?
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
My name is Samuel Chibike Ugo.
Your name?
My name is Samuel Chibike Ugo.
Samuel, you are welcome.
When you talk about profession, you said a profession comprises of all those economic activities that require observing certain rules and regulations. So I want to understand more on that part, sir. Thank you.
Which aspect? The objective, economic objective?
No, profession. When you say that a profession comprises of all those economic activities that requires observing certain rules and regulations.
I don't think I'm getting the question right. But let me move the slide back to see if I can be on the slide where you are raising issue. I think you are talking from some earlier aspect of the. Are you seeing the slide I'm sharing now? You can raise your hand so that Samuel. Am I on the slide that gives you concern? Clement. Hello, Clement.
Yes, sir.
I could not get the question of Samuel, so that's why move back to all this slide, but I cannot.
Oh, okay, okay.
Let me hear your own.
Okay, mine is not question, but a means of getting across to you so that in the course of my reading, if there is any explanation needed, one can get across to you. That is by means of phone number.
Okay, no problem. You can interact with your HOC.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I'm also going to forward this slide to the slide I used to teach now. We also forward the slide to the HOC, the head of the class.
All right. Thank you very much. I'd like to have the number. I will get that. Yes, I will communicate you, after this time.
Okay. Nwazo, can I listen to you too? Nwazo. Hello, Nwazo. You raise your hand, so can I listen to you? You have the floor. Or your concern has been addressed? Okay, I think. NS. Hello, NS. Do you still have a question you want to ask?
Good afternoon, sir. Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay. You have a question for me, or?
Yes, I have a question. You talked about perception. How can you apply perception to business administration?
Yes. At every given point in time, whether you're a manager, whether you're a worker in the organization. See, though it's not part of this now, but I will mention it. There's what we call 14 principles of management by Henry Fayol. You see, perception is not terminal. It's not terminal. That or as a subordinate within organization about that particular business should translate into implementation of initiative. The perception will give you the knowledge of where you believe the organization is. The objective has given you the direction of where the organization expects to be and where what is expected to attain. But the perception per time will deal with, yes, this is what we have as objective. By perception, are we actually there? Okay. And so if we are not there, the perception should not just terminate there. What should we do to move forward based on this perception? Okay. If we are doing well, we've perceived that, okay, we are doing well as an organization, then we should muster strength to what? To sustain that perception that, okay, we are doing well, we should be able to maintain that position of doing well. We are not really doing well, and that's what led to me mentioning, though it's not in your material, when we teach all this, consolidation we bring into it. For instance, you have seen me now coming in from the perspective of 14 principles aware to be able to respond. There's understanding that in every business, within an industry, that's what led to me saying that in every business, in a particular industry you take, you cannot perceive all of them to be on the same level. Some will be doing better, you will have good, better. So, and I said the categorization we normally have they are four. You have a particular industry. You have the leader, one that is doing best within that industry. You go into the banking industry now, you have a particular man that is doing best, that you are, by perception, is the best, isn't it? Then by perception, you have another one that is challenging the best. which is what? The leader, one that is challenging the leader, the industry leader. Call it what? The challenger. The last in the ranking is what? The niche. You belong in that particular business, in that industry. It gives you the understanding of the need and what should be put in place for you not to be stagnant and to move forward. Perception is such a wide thing. Say perception in terms of the quality of the service you are offering, the perception of it or service, the perception of the is actually broad. Okay. You always lead to what? Action. That this is me by perception, and this is what the level I want to move up. Okay. So there's an industry leader is not automatic that industry leader should maintain that position for life. The challenger can challenge if he has perceived that, oh, I'm the next. That's my perception. Then I want to move. I perceive where we belong now in this business, in this particular industry. We can do everything possible to beat the leader and occupy that position. Okay? So that's business word for you. There are some times I don't want to use it for your level. Okay? But those ones I believe you can cope with, I've import them in, like coming from the 14 principles, talking about the initiative, using the industry leader, challenger, follower, and niche model. So perception is basic. That must be able to perceive whether you are a manager in the business or you are a worker in the business. It will give room for you to understand what you need to do now to actually realize the objective. If you don't perceive where you are, you may not be able to do the needful to move to where you should be. I hope that is clear, Favor. Hello, Favor. Favor. And one who asked for clarification, and it seems you are no longer there.
On mute before. I understand what you said, sir. Thank you.
So, in the absence of any other question, I think we can round up now. So, by next week, we meet again and we continue with another aspect. So, we have done justice to this aspect, and the slide will be made available. So, thank you for participating in this class. I appreciate your interest.